very good afternoon to one and all present here. I now welcome our Chief Speaker for the day, Chief Guest, CA P.B. Sampath. And I also welcome the daughter of the person who is being honored today, CA Saraswati, G. Saraswati. Please come on the day. Please give him a round of applause. I request all dignitaries here present to please stand for the ICA motto song.
सुप्तेषु जागृति येष सुप्तेषु जागृति कामं 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 कामुषो पुरुषो निर्विमानः निर्विमानः तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्मा तद्ब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते अस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदुन्नाद्यति कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता.
Please be seated. A very warm good afternoon to one and all present here. Honorable speakers on the dais, the members and chartered accountants who have taken time out of the schedule to be here, and of course the beloved students. I welcome you to this memorial lecture of Gururaja Upadhaya. The name itself signifies what a great person he was. He was an individual who touched many lives. Students like yourself and even me, being one of the younger members, have not had the privilege of having experienced him, but my father, a chartered accountant, and various senior members that I have interacted with have always held one person in extremely high esteem, and that was the person that we are honoring today, P.P. Gururaja Upadhaya. As the program goes on, I will formally introduce him. But before we proceed with that, in my welcome address, there's something that I wanted to touch upon since we have many students here today. You know, as students, we are caught up in the rat race of our CA syllabus, highly challenging. You have to wake up at 5 o'clock, get ready, go to your CA classes, 6:15 sharp, you have to be there. If you are late, teacher will shout at you. Finish that, have your breakfast, go to your principal's office, your partner's office. If you are late there, your partner or principal will shout at you. Then you have to finish that, go to your house or go to a class again in the evening, finish that class, go back home, you have to eat dinner, and again you have to study for the CA course. If not, your mother will shout at you. So constantly there's a pressure, there's a rat race, and sometimes we tend to miss enjoying the sweet portions of the course.
After marriage, wife will shout at
you. Yes, that throughout the day that is there, that pressure. But of course that's on a lighter note. But point is, as CA students, sometimes we wonder, and having been in your shoes less than 7-8 years back, I can tell you that these thoughts went through my head. Do I really have to do this course? Do I have to go through all of this? I look at my friends who are all maybe or commerce graduates who are studying BCom. I look at the science graduates. They will say, please come, let us play cricket, let us play football, come, let's go watch a movie. You will be saying, no, I have class, no, I have to go to office, no, I have to come back home and study. When is your exam? after 18 months. Why are you studying now? No, I have to study. Then only I will get at least 50 marks. Or 50 marks also you cannot get. No, 50 marks is a big mark in CA. You don't understand. You have to go this entire cycle. You have to explain. All of us have gone through that. But having said that, let's understand a few more fair aspects of the course. Now let us compare you with a science graduate. You take 3 years to complete your articleship. Maybe exam, let us give another year's time. 6 months you have an exam. So let's say timing difference. So 4 years to complete your course. Same 4 years engineering student is completing his course. What happens at the end of 4 years? During those 4 years, while your friend is enjoying in college, he has a great lifestyle, goes out with his friends, doesn't miss any movie, first day, first show, all of that. Same time, you are toiling, you're burning the midnight oil, you're working hard. On what? Not on some internship, on some topic that's irrelated to you or unrelated to you. You are studying topics which are very much what you are going to do when you pass the exam. Not only that, you are getting paid to do that. You please pay them. If they make mistake, it's okay. It's like a free mistake. You pay them to make the mistake. So as articles, you are all doing things that you will do when you become a chartered accountant. This is unheard of, to get paid for doing that. So you are learning and you are earning at the same time. What happens at the end of those 3 years or 4 years? Your friend, they pass out of their college, they have to go and search for a job. With what? No experience. Whether they'll get a job, we don't know. Current market is such that it's not guaranteed. As a chartered accountant, you're guaranteed a job. You're guaranteed a minimum pay. Minimum. Of course, every time I say this minimum pay, a lot of chartered accountants, they look at me and they say, why you are quoting so low? I say 5 lakhs. Minimum 5 lakhs per annum you'll be earning as a chartered accountant. And a lot of people are saying, that is very, very low. Why are you quoting? You are selling the course low. But it is high. Sir says it is high. First person that I've heard who says high. But the reality is, at least you are guaranteed a job. Unless you don't want to work. Unless you decide to reject that job, you are guaranteed a job. Now how many courses in the world can boast that? Now engineering people, after that, they have to study again for that. After working for 3 years, they'll be earning enough to do their masters, because they will not get promoted beyond a point. After a point, they'll hit a point where they cannot go forward in the pyramid of the promotion or the succession ladder. So then they have to do a master's course. They have to take a loan. They have to study that master's course. Then they have to finish that master's course. They have to join a job so that they can repay the loan. So minimum another 3 to 4 years they'll be working. Maybe they may like the job, but mostly they don't have the freedom because they have to repay that loan. Then after that 4 years, commitments, you'll be married, you may have children, you may have senior citizen commitments that your parents are growing older. So despite all that, you'll be certainly blocked as a science student or a BCom student, etc. Then finally, after almost 10 to 15 years, you have the freedom to do what you want. But as chartered accountants, at the end of 3.5 years, you have the choice to do what you want. And that freedom is something the course really empowers you with. So your challenges that you face in your articleship, etc. are trivial if you look at the larger picture. Take a step back. So as students, generally we tend to miss this, but I implore you as students, definitely take a step back and try to look at the larger picture. You know, there's a funny story where they say, I repeatedly say there's no retirement age for CA. There's no retirement age for CA. There's so many chartered accountants who are practicing at the age of 90. And you only grow more experienced and wise as a chartered accountant. As a lighter note, one person, he goes to a shop, pet shop, to see what is there. There he sees 3 parrots are for sale. First parrot is being sold for 2 lakhs. Second parrot is being sold for 5 lakhs. Third parrot is being sold for 50 lakhs. So what is this? So he asked the shopkeeper, sir, what is this? How is this parrot valued at 2 lakhs? He says, sir, this parrot, if you give it journal entries, it will drop the entire financial statements. Oh, really? Wonderful. Sir, the second parrot is valued even higher than that. Why is it valued at 5 lakhs, sir? Sir, you give this parrot the entire journal entry, it will not only do the financial statements, it will do the notes to accounts, it will do projections also, discounted cash flow model, net present value and all. Oh, amazing. Sir, what about this third parrot? 50 lakhs it's valued, what and all it does? Sir, please tell me. Sir, actually this third parrot does nothing. What nothing? Yes, the first two parrot call it senior partner, so I decided to value at 50 lakhs. So light or not, where my point is in CA your value only increases as you grow old. If you see, the most successful chartered accountants are the senior chartered accountants. So there is no retirement age. As a CA, there is no retirement age. And I have to say, being students, please enjoy the more important aspects of networking. We don't have a college. How many of you here have been to college actually?
They are doing college. Yeah.
So around maybe 6 or 7 students have gone to college. But even I didn't go to college. At the age of 17, I joined my articleship. So we have not had the experience of having a fraternal bonding like many of our friends do. So that sometimes we feel like we don't have a network, we don't have a friend circle. This is where your ITT classes, GMCS classes, your coaching classes like what you are attending today, programs like this, memorial lectures, etc., they go a long way in bringing together people. So you have a chance, maybe you'll go and have tea, maybe you'll have some snacks, maybe after the class you might meet and go for a movie. Definitely do that. I encourage you to do that, because sometimes as CA students, in the rat race we're stuck, we miss out the friendships. And unlike college, we don't have 3 years full day to spend the time with each other, etc. Because we're doing articleship, we'll be running from here to there, classes, after that it will just be going endlessly. Then suddenly one day you realize you're a chartered accountant, you don't have that big a friend circle. So definitely take this as an opportunity to make friends. Of course, I'm not saying discount the classes are more important, but also use it as an opportunity to make friends. So build a circle, build a network. And finally, they say, for a long lighter note, a CA, an engineer and an advocate, they die and they go to heaven. So before they enter into heaven, they are doing an evaluation. They say, Mr. Advocate, you have represented so many criminals, people who commit murder, people who commit all kinds of acts against humanity. So I am going to send you to hell for 10 years. Advocate says, what is this? No, it is done. Then he goes to the engineer. He says, Mr. Engineer, you have built a building where you have not correctly certified it. Because of you, that building collapsed. Almost 50 families have died and they have all lost their life savings. They have lost their family, they have lost their life savings. So I am sending you to hell for 10 years. No, what is this? Then they go to the chartered accountant. They say, Mr. Chartered Accountant, you certified a balance sheet of a company where public are substantially invested in, and it's completely sham. It's completely sham. Because of you, investors have lost all their savings and they are all on the roads today. They're all on the roads. So I am sending you to hell for 7 years. Immediately the advocate, how is this fair? For us 10 years, for him 7 years. He says, sir, you have to remember, as chartered accountant, they have finished articleship of 3 years already. So it's not required for 10 years. So it's of course a joke, but my point is, it's a lighter note that articleship is difficult, but there are many good aspects to it. You come through the course, you have to definitely remember important people, important teachers that have helped you excel in your career. Gururaja Upadhaya was one such person. He has really touched many lives. So even though many of us may not be aware of who he is, I think as the CA Institute, we have taken up this initiative to create awareness about the great things that he has done for the course and the profession as a whole also. He has touched members, students and the entire country in general with a lot of his forward-thinking initiatives. And I will just briefly read out the profile and introduce Mr. P.P. Gururaja Upadhyaya so that you can really appreciate who he is and what he has done. CA P.P. Gururaja Upadhyaya was born on 28th of December 1937. He was a member of the ICAI from the year 1962 till 1997. He was a fellow member of the institute and he was practicing in Chennai. He was elected to the Central Council of the CA Institute for the first time in 1988, and he got re-elected for the next 2 terms, and he was in the council in fact till 1997 where he passed away. A member with a humble, simple personality who was so attached to students and was an expert in taxation, handled classes for CA students throughout the country, and he was the chairman and paper writer for many conferences held throughout the country as well. When he was chairman of Board of Studies, the first students' newsletter was brought out by the ICAI in the month of October 1997. To perpetuate his memory and to honor his memory, SIRC has constituted a fund for conducting this memorial lecture where we invite great dignitaries. Our dignitaries invited today, CAPB Sampath is no less. I will introduce him shortly so that he can give you his address. But really, this is a person who we're organizing this memorial lecture for in a great importance. It's not done with pomp, it's not done with style. Some people say that why it's a very sad occasion. In fact, I'd say it is not a sad occasion. We are not mourning his passing, we are celebrating his life. We are celebrating his life, we are celebrating the great things that he has done, and it's important for us to all be aware, to appreciate the efforts taken by our forefathers in the profession and why we need to carry forward these ethics and these values and the same sort of hard work that they've put in selflessly for the benefit of the profession. With this, I conclude my welcome address and the brief introduction of the person that we are honoring today. We will now request our speakers and Ms. Saraswati Madam to please pay the floral tributes, and we will do that now in honor of his memory. As a role of Secretary of the SIRC of ICA, I have great pleasure in requesting the address by the family members of CA Gururaja Upadhaya. G. Saraswati Madam is here, so I request her to please come and address the gathering.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Good evening, everybody. On behalf of family of Gururaja Upadhyaya, I would like to thank the Institute for conducting this memorial lecture year after year, remembering him every year. Thank you all. Those who have taken the initiative initially. Soon after his death, few chartered accountants took the initiative and collected the funds in his name, and they have been utilizing it year after year. We are so happy about it. Thank you Institute. That is all I would like to say. Just to quote my father on this occasion, as an advice to the students, he always used to say, please write and practice. Don't just go through the study materials or whatever textbook you are using for studies. Please write and practice. That was what he was continuously telling all his students. To me also, as a student of him, he used to advise me also the same thing, and people have come out successfully taking his advice. This particular advice has helped many students to come out successful. Even in the newsletter what Mr. Abhishek Murli mentioned just now, he has said this, please write and practice. Do not just go through the materials and appear for examinations. This was his advice to all his students. I hope you also can take this as his advice, and you can try to follow it. Thank you very much. Sir, thank you, sir, Mr. Sampath, sir, for coming on this occasion. I have attended your classes also in the same premises. I'm happy to have you here on this occasion. Thank you very much.
I will now introduce our chief guest and the person who will be delivering the memorial lecture, CA P.B. Sampath, a person of very, very high repute and huge standing in the profession. Mr. P.B. Sampath passed out of RKM school in the year 1959, meritoriously securing the highest mark among the school students who appeared for the SSLC examinations. He was awarded a merit certificate for the best outgoing student and also won the prize of highest marks in Sanskrit in Chennai schools. He went to Loyola College and completed his BCom degree. He is now a qualified chartered accountant, a qualified cost accountant, and a qualified company secretary also, holding associate membership in all firms and all the three professional accounting bodies. His work experience is rich, spanning more than 4 decades of varied responsibilities and roles in accounting, finance, and management. Since 1983, he has been with the flagship company of Amalgamation Group, that is TAFE, Tractors and Farm Equipment Limited, a very, very famous and rich company of Chennai. In different capacities he served there. Currently he holds the position as director at TAFE, and he is on the board of many, many reputed companies as well. He has intimate knowledge of accounting, finance, legal processes, and the needs of an engineering industry also. He is keenly interested in education, has a record of teaching and executive training as well. Madam also said she is one of his students. He has been a professor at IFMR. He has been a faculty at the SIRC of ICI for many years. He has presented papers in various conferences, seminars, and professional accounting institutes across India. And he is a well-travelled person. He serves as a trustee in various charitable trusts also. And he derives immense satisfaction from such assignments of contributing articles, lectures, magazine articles, and various topics, religious topics also, in subjects in Tamil and English. This is only a brief profile about him. Having known him personally, especially, he is a very good friend of my father's. I can tell you that he holds him in extremely high regard. A person who is very soft-spoken, but also conveys every word that he speaks contains a lot of value, and his experience, knowledge, everything comes out in such a wonderful manner. A really down-to-earth person. Thank you so much, sir, for taking time out of your busy schedule to be here with us today. And with this brief introduction, I welcome our chief speaker for the day, CA P.B. Sampath, to deliver the memorial lecture. Before which, we'd like to honor him with a shawl and memento. I will present the shawl. I request Saraswati ma'am to please present the memento to sir. First shawl. The stage is yours.
My greetings to everyone here, all of you dear students. I wish you all the best. Thank you, Dr. Abhishek, for introducing me very generously He was saying, I am very old. I am a friend of his father, he said. Thank you, C.A. Saraswati. I have known your father. My only qualification to be here this evening and talk to you is perhaps I am the only person on the stage who was personally associated with Gururaja Upadhaya. A person, a teacher, a guru, a CA, which I held in high esteem. You see his photograph, true old gentleman. He used to be dressed very conventionally. It's a dhoti, panchakacham dhoti, a white shirt with a turban, and he was a religious, deeply religious person, and a person of simplicity and knowledge. Knowledge sat on him very, very comfortably. A person whom we all had in high esteem. So when his name was mentioned, I put up my hand and then said, I will come and participate. That's why I'm here. I'm very happy to remember Mr. Gururaja Upadhyaya. The last few days, not few days, this program was first planned in December. So since December, I have been thinking, would Mr. Upadhyaya be happy with the developments he has seen through the years, now currently as seen in the business world and in the profession? Would he have been happy? Would he have been sad? Or would he have been neutral? I will tell you the answer at the end of my speech. Because he believed in honesty. He believed in not taking advantage of circumstances. From my own experience as an article clerk when I was a student many, many years ago, I won't tell you when, because you will guess my age. I worked under a similar CA like Mr. Upadhyaya. I didn't have the good fortune to work under him, but someone else was equally capable, competent, and very good. I still remember an incident. It was the income tax assessment of a petroleum dealer in South Arcot district. Kadalur was the headquarters. The ITO sat at Kadalur. So the assessment is handled by my firm, and on behalf of the firm, I handled the assessment. In those days, article clerks were given responsibilities, senior responsibilities.
Now they are not given.
I didn't say that. In one particular assessment, the ITO had made a mistake, an error, which resulted in tax being understated by 50,000 rupees. About 50,000 rupees. The order was received by our office in Chennai, and I verified it, found it out. I was a good student. I found it out, and then went to my principal and told him such an error has happened which favors the SSE, but as against again disadvantage to the department. I was expecting him to say, no, you write back and correct. He was a very honest person. But he went one step further. My principal told me, go to Kadalur, meet the ITO, explain to him and get it corrected. So I took a bus the next morning, went to Kadalur, explained to the ITO that he made a mistake. And the ITO stood up from his chair, held my hand and said, thank you very much. Only your office is so honest and all that. I still remember this incident after 50 years. Because it made an impression on me. Don't take advantage. Be sincere to whatever you do. Mr. Gururaja Upadhaya was such a person. He was of the same brand, same category. And he believed in straightforwardness, integrity, service. So we then shift our attention and see what's happening in the business world today. I've been in industry for many years, through good times, bad times, and I've seen industry from within, at least whatever view that I could get. There are many unpleasant things which are happening. Pleasant things are also happening. It is not as if that everything is unpleasant. There are good things happening. So I just thought I will talk to you about some of these aspects as part of the corporate governance as a theme, because I am sure that Mr. Gururaja Upadhyaya would have been excited about it. So you look at the date, December 2019. It should be February 20. I took the advantage of correcting it since. First, let me talk to you about three different words whose import you should understand. One is administration, the word administration. Second is the word management. Third is the word governance. I would like to listen to you, but then there is not possible. It is such a large room and there are many. There will be chaos. So I guess what you will be wanting to say is the three words. If you look at it deeply, they have different connotations. Administering something is given a set of rules and ensure that they are adhered to is administration. Management is one who is managing, including possibly framing of the rules, correction of the rules, handling situations, and doing much more than simple administration. And the third is the word governance. So do you understand the significance of the word governance? I'll give you one or two examples so that you will understand. So in our country, the parliament is a supreme body which makes laws, administers them. But then we have a president. Because we are a republic, we are actually governed by the President of India. The Parliament makes the rules, yet the rules go to the President for his assent. That means the Parliament submits itself to a governance by a higher body, the President. Like for example, you have a governor in every state. We also have a governor who is very often abused. Now, what is the role of the governor? He is not in charge of administration. He is not in charge of management of the economics of the state. But he is a governor, meaning there is a cabinet which administers the state, and yet they submit themselves to a supervisory, directional governance by another person, an authority, a governor. So governing is something, there is a voluntariness attached to it. It is not simply enforcing. The police administer, they enforce law, but the governor does not enforce law. But yet you submit yourself. The supreme body like the parliament submits itself to a presidential ordinance, which means they accept governance. So such a voluntary submission or a voluntary supervision is called governance. In a large corporate enterprise, there are many stakeholders. I hope you understand the distinction between shareholders and stakeholders. You're all students, you know company law. Shareholders are the people who own the company. There may be a number of groups of people who may be interested in the business organization, but they may not be owning the company, they may not be owning the shares of a company. Can you think of some examples to yourself? Who are the likely people other than shareholders who can be interested in an organization, in a company? I've got a whole list of them coming to you. The owners or the shareholders have an interest. The management is different from owners. In a corporate setup, the company is owned by the shareholders, but it is managed by the directors. But the directors have an interest in the organization, company. What interest they have? Because they derive income therefrom. They derive a status therefrom. They have social responsibilities. All those things are dependent on their being directors. So they have a stake in the company doing well. Their customers expect products, quality products from the company. So I am used to a particular brand, a particular item which is made by a particular company. So I expect that quality will be maintained by them. So supposing that company goes bankrupt, I have a problem. So as a customer, I have interest in that. Vendors of goods and services, they are also stakeholders. They have an interest in the company. You can understand that. Employees also have a stake in the company because they depend on their livelihood. They are depending on their welfare on the company. So they are also stakeholders. Bankers, lenders, people who provide money, not as share capital, but in many other forms. They all have a very substantial financial interest in that company. So like this, government also is a stakeholder. And why do you say that? Because the government expects revenues from the business, from the company. So you can go on adding one or two more. So all that I'm trying to say is, in a large company, a corporate, especially if you imagine a large international global corporate of today's thing, like let's say TCS, like let us say an American company, whatever, they all have so many stakeholders who are interested in running that the company should run well. So they are called stakeholders. Good, bad, indifferent governance impacts all of them as much. So you can ask, sir, how does it happen? It has happened. I can give you examples. Scandals that shook the business world, some of the notorious ones, I should not say famous ones, notorious ones. The Enron scandal, which was a power company in the US, the company kept huge debts off the balance sheet. Shareholders lost $74 billion. Prior to that scandal, Fortune magazine had named the company America's most innovative company. Up to a point in time, till 2019, they are excellent, most innovative, number one in the list. 2020, when the fraud surfaces, they just fall, the reputation falls to the bottom and shareholders suffer. Why do they suffer? Because the value of the share has plummeted down. Another example, Lehman Brothers scandal. This was in 2008. The financial services giant had over $50 billion in loans disguised as sales and went bankrupt. So you can say all this happened abroad, sir, why are you worried? No, please. They happened in India also. The Satyam scandal. Indian IT services company falsified revenues, margins and cash balances at the tune of 50 billion rupees came to light upon the promoter admitting fraud in a letter to the board of directors. For a brief moment, I look at my own profession. The auditors didn't find this out. The promoter came and declared himself, I have committed this. Sad state of affairs. ILFS scandal. This is a financial services company. The company defaulted on its debt obligations, triggering a liquidity crisis in the financial services market. You must have possibly read in the papers. I will just bring it to a recap. So what this company had more than 300 subsidiaries. I'm surprised. How was it ever allowed? And what used to happen in the subsidiaries, such a large band of subsidiaries, the holding company has little control. You don't really take it that they can control everything. So some of these subsidiary companies used to take money from the banks, loans, market. So they spend the money, the losses, the money is disappearing. So the time comes when the debt becomes an NPA, non-performing asset. Then the bankers pressurize the company. And then banker is also on the tentative edge because his job is in danger because he has more NPA. So together they hatch up a scheme. I'll give money to another company, a subsidiary. You please route it to your company, pay me back. This kind of round tripping, what they call round tripping. They did, and then ultimately, when it was found that the company had a debt of 99,354 crores, which were endangered. The question is, why does all this happen? There are enough safeguards. There is Companies Act. The bankers are very shrewd people, very clever people. The auditors, you don't have to say, they're extremely knowledgeable and people who can say what is true and what is fair, isn't it? So in spite of all this is happening. Why? I would like you to ask yourself this question, why does this happen? This happens because people tend to be less than honest. So they have different grades of honesty. So this is what has happened. There is a general fall in ethical standards. That's where we start for the evening, which are ethics and corporate governance. Ethics. Ethics is a matter of personal behavior. This is something that you cannot teach in a classroom. This is not something which you can pick up from a textbook. This is something which should be inherent in a person. Inherent learning of a person. From where does a little child learn things? It learns things from the parents, from the teachers, from the society at large. That's where the little child picks up these codes of behavior. If these codes of behavior are good or efficient or very, very honest, then the child grows up and the child becomes a man. There is ethical standard in the society. So is this happening? This is getting diluted, is where we start our discussions. I want to tell you one story. Maybe I'll come back to the end of the speech also, but then a little story which I'm sure you will find interesting. It's not a story, it's a real life incident. I read about it in a magazine quite a few years ago, not recently. A family was, South Indian family was traveling from Delhi to Chennai in one of those trains, GT Express, whatever. The train stops at in between the Nagpur station. Nagpur is famous for oranges. So the family wants to buy oranges. There is a stall there are many stalls in the station. But the train is very long, so it's not very near the compartment. What the stall does is, it employs little boys to take the oranges in little baskets on their head and go to the compartments and sell. So this family picked up one boy like that and bought from him some oranges and gave him 50 rupees. The actual cost was 42 rupees. So the boy said, I don't have change to give you back 8 rupees. I'll go to the stall and bring it back. So the little boy ran to the stall, took 8 rupees and was running back to the compartment when the train started. And the train picking up speed. This little boy was running along the compartment, trying to give that 8 rupees, and everything in a flash of a second. He could not reach and they could not take. They said, the family said, keep it, told the little boy. Do you think the little boy kept it? Do you think, I earned 8 rupees? But he was a little boy of the past who had character. So he couldn't eat all that in a flash of a minute. His conscience did not permit him to accept the 8 rupees. So he picked up 3 oranges and threw it into the compartment. I said, I don't want to take these 8 rupees free. I'm not able to give you. I will compensate you. See his thinking. Supreme thinking. Such it should be the character that we build. And because the business world is not made of such little boys, these scandals happen. If that is a kind of behavioral characteristic one develops from an early age, you will find the society to be very different, the ethical standards to be very different. So because we do not have such a ethical environment, we have to look at ways of governing. What does governance say in the Wikipedia? Governance comprises all of the processes of governing, subjecting yourself to a discipline, whether undertaken by the government of a state, by a market or by a network, over a social system, and whether through the laws, norms, power or language of an organized society. It doesn't always have to be from compliance with a law, because these days we don't comply with laws, so they have become meaningless. I'll give you a very simple example. There is a building complex. The building complex is very large, so many vehicles come in and go. So they have a discipline. One is an in gate and one is an out gate. The vehicles come in through the in gate and then go out through the out gate. Very rarely you would see vehicles trying to do this mindlessly. They observe social behavior. So who said that, what is the law which said this is in gate, that is out gate? Is there any act of parliament notified by the President of India? No. But people observe, because there are norms of ethical behavior. So laying down that this is an in gate, this is an out gate is a point of governance. So therefore, governance has a sense of voluntariness about it. So I am very glad to see in the context of business, example I gave you was an oversimplified example. In the context of a large global business, there are many aspects which need to be governed, which need to be administered, which need to be managed, and which need to be governed. I told you 3 different words at the beginning. I hope you remember: administration, management and governing. So we need governance. So who is to take the initiative? This is not a law. Who is to take the initiative? The initiative, this governance, which is a social behavior, should emanate from many parts of society. So we are talking in relation to business. We are students of CA accounting, so therefore we will talk about the CA profession. What are the initiatives which have been taken? which have improved governance of business organizations. One such which comes to my mind immediately is the development of accounting and auditing standards. You study them? Do you like them? Sometimes you are angry, you are vexed. Oh, I don't understand this. What is this? You have a lot of problems with it. But maybe it's a problem to you as a student. But then these accounting standards and auditing standards have tremendously disciplined the whole process of accounting and auditing. When I was a student like you many, many years ago, we never had these standards. We went more by accepted past practices, principles, double entry bookkeeping. Why should this be debited and why should this be credited? That's a practice. There is no law. We accepted many things because of past practice. They were not codified. They were not written down anywhere. So there was an element of vagueness about them. Different people interpreted them differently. Scope for interpretation was tremendous. The arrival of the accounting and auditing standards very greatly has disciplined the approach to accounting and auditing. So even if it is an unwelcome headache, please read them. Okay? Because they play a great role in helping govern. How does it help governance? Because there is clarity, there is uniformity. So everywhere, this is the way it must be treated. So which is an assurance, a quality standard on the financial statements. Use of information technology in accounting and auditing. This is another development which it may look very sedate, okay, everywhere there is an explosion of IT. So this also, but what is the great thing about it, sir? How does it help governance, you may ask. I want to tell you this. The IT has become the backbone of accounting and auditing. All big firms use IT not only for accounting but not for auditing also. My own experience is, my generation, we never saw computers till early 80s. We had no clue about what a computer. My first exposure to a computer was in the year 1966 or 67, when I was a student like you. There was a conference in Abbotsbury, students' conference. So I attended it. As part of the conference proceedings, they wanted to introduce computers, so they arranged for a visit to a computer center in Chennai. So at that time, computer center in Chennai was in two places. One was IBM, which was then called IBM, and the other was Binion Company in Georgetown. So Binion Company had the IBM 1401 system, which huge machines, punch card equipment with cards stacked all over the hall, then sorting, verifying, all those big equipments. But he had absolutely no idea about computers. So we all went we got a bus and went there, went to the first floor where the hall, and they said, remove your footwear. So we all removed our footwear, like going to a temple. So we went inside the computer center. And we were shown these big machines and given a lot of explanations by those people around. Nothing went into our head. Out through this year, gone. So after all, we had taken off the footwear like what they do in temples. We went around and did like this and came away. That was my first exposure to computers. Today, can I say that? Because computers have become the backbone of industry. If I am not able to use my SAP in the office, the security will kick me out. It is as bad as that. So we have to learn. We went through the process of change, learning and all that. But then this introduction of IT has caught on. Many accounting professionals are part of IT teams. They get jobs. They get professional opportunities. Systems are developed. Applications are developed, which are of great use, and industry depends very much on them. Audit software is now becoming extremely popular, so they're all coming. They're all improving governance in what way? They're improving governance because of the speed, because of the accuracy. The company law, original company law said the accounts have to be circulated to the shareholders within 6 months. Why you need 6 months? With all these computers, it happens in 30 days. So therefore, the development of IT, use of IT, the expansion of IT has improved governance by giving up-to-date, accurate information to the stakeholders. Therefore, I rank this as an important aspect of governance. I must also mention, compliment the institute for this one particular concept, continuing education. To all members are required, compulsorily required to put in so many hours in learning. What a wonderful idea. Because in this field of business, things keep changing very fast. You need updated skills, you need knowledge, you need to know about the developments which happen on a day-to-day basis. So unless you are compelled to update your skills in some manner, you may tend to overlook. I personally come across many accountants in industry who just do not bother about continuous education. They come to office, they do one job, go home in the evening. Well, that is not a very great thing to do. That is not what an accounting professional can pat himself on the back. So you need this continuous education and better yourself as a professional. This has really brought in significant improvement in the governance of companies. Now, the government on its part has also been bringing in regulations which have helped governance of companies. The company law, as you all know, was recently in the sense about 6 or 7 years back, in the year 2013, was recast. Previously, the 1956 Act, which was my pillow for many years, I learned to walk in the 1956 Companies Act, which was superseded in the year 2013. The new act which brought in a number of new aspects of company administration and governance. One of that is the appointment of independent directors. I hope you have read about it, you know about it, something. You have some background on that. Why is it necessary? Who is an independent director? In what way does it help? You know, please keep in mind the context of a very large company. A very big company is actually managed by who? By a body of shareholders who themselves very often do not have great shareholding interest. They may have something, but not very great. As we explained at the beginning, there are many stakeholders to this organization. It doesn't stop only with the shareholders, it doesn't stop with the directors, any number of stakeholders. We listed them at the beginning of the lecture. They're all interested. We don't want another Enron, we don't want another Satyam. So these companies should have some preventive checks within the management. So the directors manage the company, so as part of their body of directors, we should have people who are independent. Why are they called independent? Because they are independent of the promoters of the company. promoters or the shareholders of the company who own a small percentage of the company, yet they control the company. Like for example, you say a Tata company, TCS. TCS may be a very large company, but it's still a Tata company. It is under the control of the Tata family in some way or the other. But it is being run by, managed by a team of people, the directors. If all those directors are dependent on the promoters, then they will do what only the promoters want. They will do only what will benefit the promoters. If sometimes in that process the non-promoter shareholders are affected, it's possible, no? There are minority shareholders. Something detrimental to the minority shareholders will be bypassed by the board of directors. So you have in the board independent directors who are not dependent on the promoters. Their independence is from what? Independence must be of something, you know. So their independence is of the promoter group. They are not people who are controlled by the promoter group. So they are independent directors in that sense. So the appointment of independent directors as a concept was compelled by the company law in the year 2013 Act. What does it say? Another, we will talk about it a little later. Another aspect of the initiative in the 2013 Act is the appointment of women directors. So companies of a certain class, of a certain size, are now required to have a woman director on the board, at least one of them, is another important development which improves governance. And the third is the rotation of auditors. This is a concept which the profession may like or may not like. Some individuals may not like in the profession itself. All those things apart, the government has accepted that the auditors must be rotated. Why? Because their dependence, the relationship with the promoters and the auditors, which can harm the other stakeholders, should be avoided. And another major reform that has recently taken place, which has improved in governing process, is the reforms in insolvency and bankruptcy process. All of you will be aware that government changed these laws, insolvency law, with the introduction of what is called IBC, Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code. Now this has brought together the concept, the principles of insolvency, liquidation of companies, settlement of debts and all that under one kind of a controlling authority, the IBC Code. It's a very silent reform which has done remarkable things, achievements in the corporate sector. As possibly students at this level, you may not appreciate it. But then, just to give you the background, prior to this code, liquidation of a company was under the Companies Act. Insolvency was handled by another act, another code. Like this, things were spread out. And you, understanding our country and its systems, the way it works, you can understand how long does it take for the matter to settle. So if I have dues, I am a creditor of a company, the company is not paying me, the company is insolvent. Well, recognizing that and going to court and getting the money in this was an enormous, tedious job. That has now been brought under one roof. More than that, it has given a route to sick companies. Companies, it's not as if that every company, sick company, is a fraudulent company. There are good companies which, because of business circumstances, they are unable to pay debts, they became sick. They want to come out of that vicious cycle. So it was very difficult for them to, now it's made easy. Now you find many companies which are becoming sick are now taken over by other groups, converted to profitable companies. So this way, possible accidents which have happened because of misgovernance have been avoided. So I consider this as a very important reform which is improving successfully the governance process. Now, I want to give you a little more dope about independent directors. All listed companies to have independent directors. Previously it was all there, but not under company law. It was required as a part of the SEBI regulations, but now the company law itself contains that all listed companies have to have it as prescribed. Unlisted public companies with paid-up capital of 10 crores or more, turnover of 100 crores, or borrowings in excess of 50 crores or more appoint IDs. Why is it necessary? Because these are companies of larger sizes in which the stakeholders' interest is under threat, could be under threat. So having independent directors on the board will improve the governing process. Is the logic. And a very recent development with regard to independent directors, the Act and the rules provide for creation and maintenance of data bank of persons offering to become independent directors. So the law says you must have independent director. Hitherto, it was quite possible for the promoters to pick up somebody and then make them independent directors. They need not know about the business, they need no stake. They're only dependent on the promoters, but they're disguised as independent directors. Was possible. Now that is being plugged, that loophole is being plugged by saying, we have an agency now, Indian Institute of Corporate Affairs, Manesa, which has been notified as the agency to empanel independent directors. Independent directors to seek empanelment within 3 months from 1st December. So by 28th February, the last 29th February, the last date for empanelment. So if I am an independent director in some company, then I need to list myself with this company, with this panel. Persons to be appointed hereafter as IDs to seek prior empanelment. So if the new appointments, the 3 months does not work. And here comes a catch. Independent directors are required to pass online efficiency self-assessment test. So you cannot pick somebody, you cannot pick your driver and make him an independent director. He has to be passed through the test. So there is a test. So be happy. It's not only CA students who have to take tests. Independent directors also have to take tests. But exemption is given to those who have 10 years experience as directors, KMPs. KMPs means key management personnel. And the board's report must say why such and such person was made an independent director, so that to improve the transparency of the process. So what I did, because a 3 months window, and I don't have to take the test because I have more than 10 years experience as a director. I ran to the empanelment agency and got myself registered. Otherwise, I would have to take a test. Then there is a requirement about appointment of a woman director. Class of companies to appoint women director. Every listed company, other public companies having paid up capital of 100 crores or more, turnover of 300 crores or more. Why do I say this is a process which will improve governance? The presence of women will improve the society. No doubt about it. The presence of women in boardrooms will make the corporates more social conscious. The interests and safeguards of women employees will be protected. All this in the background. Unstated objectives. So this is something that will improve governance. Rotation of statutory auditors. Maybe you are aware, a quick run through we will do. Prior to the Act, the auditor appointment was made every year. So at the end of every year, the auditor will be on tenterhooks whether the company will appoint me or not. So therefore, the auditor will be tempted to oblige the management to continue his appointment. Now it is not there. The term is 5 years. So once appointed, you have got to suffer the auditor for 5 years. Of course, the provisions for removal are there, but they are more as exceptions. Maximum tenure with individual auditor is 5 years, and if it is a firm of auditors, it is 10 years. In my own company, TAFE, where I have been associated as a director, we were formed in the year 1960. Till the year 2014, how many years? 40 plus 14, 54 years. Same auditor. One of the big four. Name is not important. Same auditor. For the first time in 2014, we were compelled to look at another. We did it. Of course, parting is sad, but then we had nothing to hide also. But in the larger context, business context, governance context, it makes sense. It makes sense to change the audit in a reasonable span, so that the taking for granted will not be there, so that newer things will be thought of, better controls will improve, governance will improve. That is the crux of the term. Then, the Insolvency Bankruptcy Code, I told you, is a landmark legislation speeding up corporate resettlement process. Perhaps as students you may not appreciate how important it is in the context of the corporate world. In the corporate world, there are many, unfortunately, many sick industrial companies, which the owners of these companies are unable to get rid of. They want to get rid of. They are unable to do so because of the difficult, cumbersome legal process. Now there is a gateway, and this gateway improves the business environment tremendously. So this will reduce governance problems. Provides for time-bound, efficient process beneficial to small investors. So these are some of the recent developments. We come back to the main theme of what I was trying to tell you at the beginning. Mr. Gururaja Upadhaya was a very, very honest, straightforward, lovable person. And it is because these qualities are becoming rare, especially in the business context. There is slowly dilution of ethical standards. From ethical standards of the type I was referring to, of the Nagpur boy selling oranges, to today's business world is a great journey where people will be surprised at the changes that we are seeing in the environment. So, what are the ways in which we can promote this ethics, ethical standards? I started by saying at the beginning, would Mr. Gururaja Upadhaya be happy about the changes he sees in the corporate world? I think you are now in a position to possibly guess what I would say. As an old man, like all old men do, we lament and say, things were different in those days. This is common philosophy. I am sorry to say this. It is true that society is evolving. There is no doubt about it. I understand the need for change. Changes will happen. But there are certain basic traits, social behavior, norms, which should not be diluted. So only that can bring in governance. You can have many tools. You can have all these governance measures. You can have independent directors. You can have even directors. You can have newer auditors. You can have IT. You can have develop this system, that system, so many things. But all this have to be managed by human beings. Human beings there is a social animal. Man is a social animal. Man, when I say man, I include women also. They have to have certain ethical standards. Only that improvement in ethical standards will ensure all these measures of corporate governance can be successful. They can have the utopia. They can have the most ultimate society which is error-free, defect-free, honest and progressive. How can that happen? How that is done? Says an author, he who walks in integrity walks securely, but he perverts his ways will be found out. This is fundamental. So I would like to conclude with two observations. Observation one, answer to my initial question. Mr. Upadhyaya, being the person that I had known him to be, would not be happy in today's circumstances. The second is, I want to appeal to all of you young minds. Please start your careers with a goal that I will not do something which is less than honest. It's a promise you make to yourself which will only guarantee the success of governance in this country. Thank you very much for the very patient listening that you have all done. You have all sat through this. Today I was also quite serious because it was bothering me at the back. So I was a little serious in my whatever points I was trying to put forth to, which means I am capable of more humor. Today is not the day because we remember your soul was very great. Thank you very much. I wish you all the best in your career. May you all achieve glory and greatness in whatever you do. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, CAPV Sampath sir, for a riveting presentation that really touched upon the personal aspects that we as members and young students should work on. Yes, times are changing, but we must stay true to certain ethics. As it is famously said, when it comes to matters of style, swim with the tide. But when it comes to matters of principles, stand like a rock. And I think as students and young members, we will definitely take it in a positive sense and we will abide by it, sir. And in honor of the great soul that is CA Gururaja Upadhaya, who is someone who also stood for this, and CAPB Sampath sir also stands for this, we will definitely honor that and we will stay good to it, sir. With this, I would like to present the vote of thanks. It will be a very brief vote of thanks. I would like to thank, first of all, our speaker for the day, CAPB Sampath. Please give him a huge round of applause. I would like to thank the family members of CA Gururaja Upadhyaya sir, the CAB Saraswati who is here, and of course the partners from her firm also. I'd like to thank the members who have, this is meant to be a students program, but many members have turned up despite that to really come listen to our excellent speakers today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules of being here on this very important occasion. And lastly, I'd like to thank the students who have come here, who have stayed through the lecture and who really appreciated it. I was observing, everybody was riveted. Of course, credit goes to the speaker, but also credit goes to the students also, who despite a long day, who have come in such large numbers to be here and address this program. Attending programs like this is very important. It shapes us in ways that academics won't, which is also very important in the long run. And as Sir rightly said, these ethics will stand us in good stead in life, and I'm sure each and every one of us here who are present will uphold these ethics that our profession and the great individuals like CA Gururaja Upadhaya stood for. We will continue to do that. I'd also like to thank the staff of SARC, CA Ravi, staff Ravi Chandran sir, who coordinates for the students, who's done a very fantastic job. Yes, and of course Lakshman, who goes under the radar. People do not appreciate him because he is busy running around doing all that. Please give him a huge round of applause also. Our chairman, CA Dungachan Jain, would have normally been with us, but he had to attend an emergency meeting in Pondicherry, so he could not be here today. So on his behalf and on my behalf and on the behalf of the Regional Council of SARC, I'd like to thank everybody here. Thank you. Have a good day. Thank you very much. Good night. I request everybody to please rise for the national anthem.